All right, let's dive into a really powerful mental model called the Optimization Doctrine. It's a framework that totally challenges that old just work harder mantra. Instead, it shifts the focus from brute force to smart, targeted action. So let's see how it works. So let's just start with a feeling. Does this sound familiar to you? You are putting in all the hours. You're grinding away with incredible discipline. But at the end of the day, you just feel like you're spinning your wheels. You know, all that effort, but with very little to show for it. You know that feeling of stagnation? That cycle of high effort for really low progress? Well, it has a name. We're going to call it the effort trap. And honestly, it's one of the most common and frustrating experiences we can have. Now, what does the usual wisdom tell us when this happens? It tells us it's a personal failing, right? Maybe you just don't have enough grit, or you're not disciplined enough, or you just need to work even harder. But what if that entire idea is just fundamentally wrong? This is where it gets interesting. The source material we're looking at today reframes this whole problem. It argues that burnout and stagnation, they're not character flaws at all. Nope, they are failures in the design of your approach, a bug in your personal operating system. Okay, so if the old system is broken, what's the solution? Let's explore this new doctrine. You can think of it as a new operating system for your brain, a whole new way of thinking about and solving tough problems, no matter what they are. At its core is this one big idea, optimization. Now, this isn't about life hacks or just trying to be more productive. It's the disciplined act of figuring out what to do when you can't possibly do everything. I love how the source puts it. It's intelligence applied under reality. So, this doctrine proposes something kind of profound, that every single problem you face, whether it's in your career, your health, your relationships, it all comes down to the very same fundamental imbalance between two opposing forces. And these two opposing forces are exactly what we need to understand if we want to solve any problem effectively. They're called enablers and constraints. Let's break down what those actually mean. First up, we've got enablers. Think of these as the wind at your back. They are all the things that expand your world of possibility, the forces that raise the ceiling on what you can achieve. You know, things like skills, capital, good energy levels, and useful information. And then, on the other side of the equation, you have constraints. These are the headwinds. They're the variables that shrink your options and restrict what you're able to do. They impose limits through things like not enough time, being exhausted, being in debt, or even just fear. So you can see it's this constant tug of war, right? Enablers are expansion forces. They open doors and create new possibilities. Meanwhile, constraints are limiting forces. They close those doors and shrink your options. Every single problem is basically a battle between these two. Okay, so understanding these two forces is great, but it all builds to the single most important, most game-changing concept in this entire doctrine. This is an idea that completely changes how we should apply our effort. The source material calls this the key to unlocking true leverage, and maybe more importantly, avoiding all that wasted energy that just leads to burnout. This really is the central law of taking effective action. And here it is. It's called the law of the binding constraint. Let me say that again. At any moment, only one constraint is truly limiting progress. All others are secondary. What that means is, out of all the things holding you back, only one of them is the real bottleneck right now. Everything else is basically a distraction. Just one. That's the crucial point here. Your focus shouldn't be scattered across 10 different problems. It should be surgically aimed, laser-focused on this single binding constraint, because fixing anything else is just an illusion of progress. So this insight obviously leads to the big question, right? How do you actually find that one binding constraint and figure out what to do? How do you apply this in the messy real world? Well, the doctrine gives us a super simple 3-step diagnostic tool. Before you take any action, you run it through these 3 questions. Step 1, what enabler do I need to increase? Step 2, what is the one constraint I must reduce? And finally, step 3, what action gives me the highest return for my effort right now? And this is exactly why we get so exhausted. Most of the time, it's because we're pushing on the wrong lever. It's like working harder when what you really need is a new skill, or trying to launch a new project when you're being crushed by debt. You're optimizing the wrong variable. I absolutely love the way this is translated for children because it's so intuitive and powerful. If something is hard, don't just use brute force. Stop. Figure out what's in the way. It's a fundamental lesson in using your intelligence over sheer effort. And that right there brings us to the final and I think most profound shift in mindset that this entire doctrine is designed to create. It's really about redefining what hard work even means. The ultimate takeaway is this deliberate shift. We're moving away from a world that just glorifies random hard work, and we're moving towards one that celebrates surgical, leveraged action. It's a move away from just blind maximization toward intelligent balancing. Ultimately, this is all about making sure that every single unit of your precious energy, your time, and their attention is invested where it will have the absolute greatest impact. It's about making your effort truly count. And so, we'll leave you with this final thought. True wisdom isn't just about working hard. It's about knowing the critical difference between the actions that multiply your force and the ones that just drain your energy. And that right there is the core of the optimization doctrine.